Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, scholars and dignitaries, welcome to another episode. Welcome to my world. So, what if you had to make the biggest bet of your life? What if you were forced into making a bet where literally your life, your actual life, depended upon it? Well, before you made that bet, you would consult the experts. You would consult mathematicians for the probability and the odds and related formulas, the scientists for the knowledge base needed for the bet, and philosophers to study the logic model needed for the desired outcome. If your life depended upon it, seriously, you wouldn't just randomly pick an outcome based upon a like or a dislike. You would study and choose, as rationally as possible, the selection with the highest probability of occurrence, the one that would most likely win, again, because your life depends upon it. And that brings us to Pascal. He was a French philosopher, scientist, mathematician, and probability theorist that lived in the 1600s. He made historic contributions to mathematics and to the physical sciences, and in his later years as a Catholic, he turned his talents to religious writings, and along with his scientific writings, he captured the admiration and critical interest of philosophers and serious readers of every generation. Pascal developed and offered a rational and pragmatic reason for believing in God, even under the question of, does God exist? He said that the benefits of believing in God are so vast as to make betting on the existence of God a rational and judicious decision. He argues that if we do not know whether God exists, then by all means we should play it safe rather than risk being sorry. Here is his theorem. If one believes in God, yet upon death one discovers that God does not exist, one loses absolutely nothing in life or in death. Whereas if God exists and one believes in God, one gains everything upon death. They gain eternal reward in heaven. However, if one disbelieves in God and finds upon death that God does not exist, one gains nothing in life or in death. Whereas if one erroneously disbelieves and shuns God, and upon death finds that God exists, one loses everything. They find themselves the product of eternal damnation in hell. Pascal says that the rewards of eternal salvation versus the eternal punishment of the fires and tortures of hell necessitate that we make the most effective and efficient choice, the most rational choice given the long-term outcomes, our very souls in a state of bliss or a state of torment and anguish for all eternity. So this is a bet on your life, not for now, but for all eternity. The stakes couldn't be higher. The stakes are your very life. And the point is that if you have to make a bet, you need to study from the experts, including the clergy, the saints, the dogma and doctrines of the church, and the Holy Scriptures, instead of just making a random bet. And again, if God does exist, then religious believers will enjoy eternal bliss, while atheists will suffer eternal damnation. But to take it a step further, if God does not exist, then religious believers will still enjoy happiness before they die, as studies show that religious people enjoy a higher quality of life satisfaction than non-believers and are less prone to depression, suicide, and problems such as crime, delinquency, mental illness, and drug abuse. Of course, non-believers will enjoy finite happiness too, though perhaps not as much, because on earth they will experience higher levels of angst rather than the comforts of religion. So, according to Pascal, regardless of whether God exists, then religious people, believers, have it better than non-believers, atheists, both here and especially if there is an afterlife. Hence, belief in God is the most rational belief to have. In short, Pascal's wager operates under the very logical presupposition that it does not harm one to believe in God and to fear hell. But to not do so, one takes a very grave risk, a risk of potentially devastating consequences for all eternity. We take out fire insurance on our property. Would it not be wise to do at least the same for our souls, especially when in this case the insurance costs absolutely nothing? And again, faith in God normally makes one a more caring and compassionate, a more honest and moral person. Now, the actual truth is that decision theory is a bad guide for whether or not to believe in God. However, if you do feel you somehow need justification as a basis for informed choice, then Pascal's wager is the smart bet all the way around. Hey, be safe, be well, and God bless.